When I was doing research for the interview, I talked to my closest Scottish friend, who I believe is from Glasgow. And I said to her, I'm like, so I'm interviewing, for Maladie from the Nevers, because I got her into the show as well. And I said, she's an Aberdeen girl. Like, do you have any, tidbits or funny stories or anything? And she just said, no, growing up, I never understood anyone from Aberdeen. And I just went, I said, as a person? She goes, no, the accent. She's like, the accent was so ridiculous. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Wanted to say I'm a huge fan of the show, really kind of get into it more and more. An amazing episode yesterday. I won't say a word to anybody who hasn't seen it. But what's been your reaction, and even friends and family? What have they said about the Nevers?
Well, my friends and family are all in the UK, the majority of friends and family, so they haven't seen it. But my friends out in America and Los Angeles they love it.
Yeah,
I don't think they've seen me portray anybody as kind of schizo as she is and mad as she is, and so yeah, they're loving it.
Well, you were saying, I think in another interview, that Maladie is really, like you had just said, a representation of everything you're not. Because I think friends and family have said, comparatively, you're very kind of quiet, introspective, and, maybe a little shy. How do you bring out Maladie when you have to be her?
Wow, that's a good question. Red Bull? I think... I have to understand her trials and tribulations, and a backstory was a big thing for me, just to give cause and rhyme and reason as to why she does what she does, and to understand the severity of what she's gone through as a human being, but also as a woman at the hands of Dr. Haig and his cronies. And I think that was the starting point for me, just to gain kind of weight in the severity of what she'd gone through, and that kind of helped me. It's very unlike anything that I've ever gone through in my life, fortunately. So I guess it was just more the reading of it and letting the horrors of what I perceived her to go through affect me in a way that, trying to find the truth within that and understand the psychology of someone, maybe an abused woman or person. And begin at the beginning, really begin there.
How much of it is on the page, and how much of it did you have to discuss with the director or Jane Espenson or any of the writing team as well?
For myself, everything was on the page. In fact, for everyone, Augie's character, James Norton's character, I remember thinking in the first read through, this is going to be impossible for any of us to bring this to life. It's too good. It's too, it was just gold dust, and it really was at the time the most thrilling scripts that I had ever read, and the challenge was, how am I going to understand this woman? And I remember Joss saying at the time, if anybody understands her, then we haven't done our job. Because it's almost, she went through what the shock troopers are going through at the hands of Haig, so it's the dismantling of her brain and then putting that back together in a way that, how do you understand that? Yeah. But it's just so layered, and especially Maladie's references to angels, the abusers, it's just everything was there to pick apart. And there was a lot of discussions with all writers, all directors, because we had the time. So everything was kind of crystal clear before we even got onto set. We didn't waste the time on set exploring who characters were in that sense. And I think the gift of Maladie is that you see her pre-Maladie, the woman that she was as Sarah, and I think that really helped me plot her journey thus far.
I want to talk about the backstory, because this is one of, I think, the big teases thus far for North American audiences, is we know there's a massive connection between you and Laura Donnelly's character. And we haven't seen the full kind of connection yet. What can you tease about that without breaking HBO contract?
You'll find out next week.
Well,
it's something, I mean, it's huge. We know about the deceit because Maladie says that to her when they're having the face-off at the end of episode 2. So we know that she's been thrown under the bus by Amalia, but we don't. You know, you'll find out. You'll witness the moment that it happens next week. It's very clever the way the episode's structured next week, but everything will be tied up. I know, you know, people are like, oh, this doesn't make sense. No, hang on till next week and you'll get all the answers.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the show. It's very rich, and I kind of really appreciate that about it as well, because there's a lot of shows that would kind of spell things out for you really quickly. This one kind of teases pieces. It may be frustrating for some, but I absolutely love it because that's definitely one of the aspects that keeps me coming back week to week. Let's talk about, I think, the cast as well, because another thing that these, you know, the show creators are known for are these amazing ensemble casts. And I want to know, from you personally, being that kind of maybe quiet, shy person, are you method at all with Maladie? Are you trying not to speak to the rest of the cast and try to distance yourself a little? Did you create these great bonds, especially with Laura Donnelly, possibly because you guys have that, you know, the biggest connection on screen?
Yeah, well, I didn't really get to work with a lot of the cast. So apart from the read through, I just got snippets of information via the crew as to, you know, everybody getting on. It was always a happy set. It was always a creative set. And the storylines were just so wild that it was, you know, we were all there to support one another, and especially Laura and I. And we were the only ones actually. The month, they tend to do a month before we start filming, we have a month of prep. So the characters that are in, say the characters that are in episode 7, that we start in the summer sometime, will have to come in a month prior to that and do stunt workouts, get costume, you know, costumes fitted, makeup, hair, etc. So the only time that I really met certain cast members was passing. So it was just like we were doing a scene today, or, you know, you're like, oh my God, you look amazing. That's exactly how I saw a character, or not seen that. So Laura and I had to come in before episode 1 and 2, actually, to learn all the fight sequences. So we were gifted a month to do that, which was so helpful, and especially for Maladie, because it's on top of learning the scenes, it's understanding her headspace and that she's a wild animal and there's no rules when it comes to, you know, anything physical with her. She just pounces. And then on top of that, her dialogue, which just was always a crazy mind, you know, just to understand anyway. So that was a challenge for me, for sure.
So you have a great background when it comes to theater. In fact, you're an award-winning theatrical actor as well. That larger-than-life spirit that you need to bring to any theatrical role, right? In order to kind of sell it to the cheap seats, as they say. Was that something you brought to Maladie as well? Because television is a much different animal. So how do you kind of find the level you need to be at as an actor for this role?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I feel that she could have slipped away so easily. You know, it could have become a performance, and it is a performance because she's almost ridiculing Sarah. She hates that she didn't have purpose as a Victorian woman, and she didn't have the fight. You know, all she wanted to be was this new working woman. You know, and it's almost like she is just, ridiculing her former self, like mocking her in a way, which means that she has to be this huge caricature almost, you know, and this person who just kind of shapeshifts and can move into anything because that's her survival instinct, you know, as Maladie. And I remember episode 1, feeling nervous because the writers, directors at the time just said, you just have to go in and just, I want you to be so in Maladie that you could flip on a dime. So I knew where I had to reach certain areas, but every take was different. It had to be, you know. And then when the cameras got switched onto the audience, which were all stunt members, it was up to me to kind of cajole them, you know, and egg them on and get them going. So then I think I mooned them and all this sort of things that just had fun, because that's half of it as well, you know. She's got so much pain deep rooted within her that you know, she's in control and she enjoys that, and she enjoys being ahead of the game and being one step ahead of her abusers, basically. She's relishing it all.
What I love about what X-Men writers have done in the past, what the writers of the Nevers have done as well, is they show that mix of some are a blessing. Bonfire Annie, for example, have these amazing superpowers that benefit them, and some is a curse. So let's talk about, if you had to choose one power that you feel would be a curse, could be from the show, which one would you not want to have?
Oh, that is a real good one. I probably wouldn't want to have Amalia's ripple effect and see in the future, or, I think that would scare me to live in that existence. I try so hard to live in the now that I think, because then you navigate your life. This is like with tarot readers. I've never done it before, but I think, it's like manifestation. When you plant something in your head, you subconsciously kind of seek out the path to make that happen, I think. And so I think that's the same with ripples. Something's going to happen. Amalia, when it comes to Amalia and Horatio, she makes the choice to go in because she has a ripple that, that she sees those two together in an embrace. So she's all for him going to speak to him and him healing her in that sense. So I think Amalia's I would not want, actually.
So, the funny thing is, again, you keep saying you're kind of a soft-spoken, shy person, and yet when we look at your filmography, you seem to enjoy, you could call it kind of subgenres, but you kind of gravitate towards horror, science fiction, fantasy, all this great genre-related stuff. Was there an aspect of growing up that you enjoy? Because again, from kind of an ignorant Canadian perspective, I think like, oh, Scotland must be a magical place here. It's all fairy tales and legends and things like that. Was there anything in your childhood that you gravitated towards horror and all this kind of stuff? What did you watch growing up? Or what did you read that kind of got you into this?
I know, that's a good question, because I don't think I was on my bike and outdoors a lot. We would not really watch TV. After school, I'd come home and because up in Scotland, it's so light during the summer till it doesn't really get dark.
Right.
I think it's my curiosity of not being, being blessed to come from such a beautiful family and being grateful for them and my lot in life. I didn't have anything harrowing that I experienced truly. I had a roof over my head and I had a warm home and I was loved and even when my parents split up, I think being around, my mum was a childminder, so maybe there's something like that. I was always around a lot of children, and so maybe there was always like a lot of games and just so many people and maybe just like vying for attention and maybe that's where the pleasing, the pat on the back would come from, and that need to kind of the achievement side of it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a great therapy session.
This is a good one. Thank you.
I might have to charge you for the hour. Don't worry. The exchange will be in
Love it.
This is great. Well, let's talk about Scotland a little bit, because you're a proud Aberdeen girl. I think you're in North London right now.
I am, yes.
Been speaking to some of my friends in the UK, and they say, the situation with the pandemic is kind of up and down, maybe not the best. Have you been able to go home, go to Scotland at all during this?
I was there last year. I was actually there when the Nevers got stood down, because I knew we were going to be doing the big reveal in 5, where we're going to be filming that. So I thought, wow, this is going to be intense for me. I'm going to go up for a few days. And then what happened was we got stood down it was supposed to be 3 months, which obviously was a lot longer. So I decided to go and live in this kind of wooden pod in the Highlands of Scotland, which was an experience.
So what can we expect, not only in terms of the production, but what can we expect for the future of the Nevers? Because I do hope at this point the show goes on for quite some time, because it is delicious in a lot of ways. So what can we expect?
Well, Philippa Goslet, the showrunner, she has got some wacky ideas. So she's got a wonderful writers team, and she called yesterday to say that she wants to get some of the cast into writers' rooms, which I think is a blessing. That doesn't always happen at all. So I guess, I guess they trust us, and we trust them. You know, it's in their hands now, and also that we as an ensemble know these characters so unbelievably well. It's been 2 years, you know, that we've been invested in these minds because of COVID. It was stop-start.
And you're definitely going back into production. Do you have any idea when this might happen?
Summer.
Okay, great.
Whenever summer is, yeah, but it's soon.
Good. Okay, good. Because I don't want to wait any longer. So I know poor people in the UK haven't even seen, the first part, right? Yeah, that's very sad.
You're gonna love episode 6. Just wait.
Well, Amy, I can't thank you enough. This has been great. Like I said, huge fan of the show. I wish you guys all the best and continued success. Very glad that this got the opening and got the attention that it deserves, because I think a lot of people do need to give this show a chance. And so thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for Maladie, because she's fantastic. Definitely one of the reasons to tune into this show.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of love, between fans and also on this, from the scripts and the cast. It's like there's a lot of hard work being put into this. So I'm so glad that it translates the way it has. So thank you for your kind words.
Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.